Corey!
Yo, Jesse! What's going on? C&J Juse from the Cuse. We are back again.
We're back and ready to have some fun today. We look forward to another episode with you guys. We got some good information today, Corey, I think. I think we're going to have fun today.
I think we're going to have fun like we usually have fun, even though I got to get my microphone and my hat situated, but you know. That's all good, though.
It's all the learning curve that we're going through, right?
It's the realness that we give y'all. We give y'all, technical difficulties and everything. So people are going to be like, yo, these guys need to get it together.
Hey, we wear it proudly, though. Everybody in life makes mistakes. We just keep pushing.
Hey, come on now. This is our third episode.
Is it our third one or our fourth one? Third one?
Third, because remember the promo.
Yeah,
so,
sir.
This is our third episode. So this is a big turning point for us, you know what I mean? So, but what's going on, man? What's been going on with you?
Not much, man. I see you had a great weekend.
Yes,
so what
I
was
did.
That about?
It was the No Such Thing as Loyalty Part 4 premiere. They showed it at the Palace Theater, which is down on James Street. I'm pointing like people know where it is. But it was on James Street. It's at the Palace Theater, which is like a landmark for Syracuse. So it was cool, man. The movie turned out to be very good, and actually has some news. I don't want to put too much out there, but it's looking good with this movie, this particular one. But I think for the series overall, it's actually looking good. So I had fun, man. A lot of people turned up, and the actors and actress, they really did their thing, because this is the closing out of it. This was the last one. So, you have 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'm in part 2 and 3. And you can catch them on Tubi, Amazon Prime, and there's one more. I'll find that out, and I can post that when we post the video. But it's a really I'm really proud of the way it turned out, man.
That's awesome. Man.
Really
Good for you.
Yeah, it was good. And shout out to Tyrone Tizak Jackson. He's the one that put this together. This guy's been doing movies for a very long time, and he's really been representing for Syracuse. So I really appreciate to be a part of, the All Grown Entertainment. That's the name of his company.
Yep.
I'm just happy to be a part of it, and I'm just proud of the success that it's happening and it's gaining. And we have also another movie on Tubi called Family Over Everything.
Yep. And
that's a good one too. It's real. It goes into a lot of issues that families go through, whether you're from a poor background or a middle class background or a high class background, whatever it is. Topics that everybody go through. Yeah, that's what you'll see in Family Over Everything. So
that's awesome. I love the fact that you're in that. One, hats off to you guys.
Thank you.
I saw your first movie, which was really cool. And the thing that he brings most actors from Syracuse, right?
From Syracuse, and then he'll fly people from, like, we have actors that have come from Chicago, Atlanta, California, I think Detroit. Like, they'll come and he'll film mostly in Syracuse. He did one movie, Vindictive, in North Carolina, but for the majority of the ones, he does them right here in Syracuse.
That's awesome, man.
Oh,
so
man.
If you got Syracuse, if this is representing right here, Corey's representing the city,
Definitely.
You know what I mean? And definitely a shout out to Tiz. Like, that's phenomenal that he's bringing people in, he's taking advantage of the city, and he's doing everything in his power to bring light and bring different opportunities to people in the city. So shout out to him, shout out to you.
Thank you.
I absolutely love that, man. I love that for you guys.
Like, I just want people to check it out, man. Like, just really, just go and check it out and see for yourself. Like, this guy is really a great director, writer, and everything. So.
Yeah, that's cool, man.
What about you, man? What's been going on with you?
Not much, man. Just the basics, trying to get this arm back. So
how is that coming?
It's slow. It's slow.
Okay.
I did some research on it and looked in it. It's like a 6 month to a year rehab.
Oh wow.
Recovery, full recovery. You know what I mean? But the biggest thing is the strength. You lose strength quick.
Exactly.
I was in a sling for 8 weeks, so once you get out of that, you have to now start the rehab, and then you got to start range of motion first.
Yeah.
Right? You really got to focus on that. But now I'm in the step of strength.
So now, are you working with not necessarily weights, but are you working with bands?
Yeah,
Okay,
so right now
okay.
at rehab they have me doing a lot of like body weight stuff too,
Okay,
like the
okay.
rotational stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
And I've been working with some dumbbells, nothing crazy, more cable stuff, but it's been good, man.
That's
like
good,
just
man.
trying to build that back up. Being 34, I don't.
And you're
know,
strong, bro. You'll get back. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like it's sad that these things happen, but I'm a strong believer when they happen when you're young. It gives you enough time to kind of recuperate and recover and build that strength back. You know what I mean? Because it's harder when people get older to like with those type of tears, like to kind of like get back to where they normally were. You know? So.
It's a tough thing, right? Like when any injury occurs, it's how you go into that injury. Are you strong enough? You know what I mean? If you've really built the strength up and you've done that prior to the injury, the recovery is easier. Right? And that's the biggest thing when we're working with clients. Like, it doesn't matter the age. If you just work on your body and try to be better every day, which brings me to a point of a book I've been reading. Actually, a client sent it to me when I was out. They were like, we really want you to read this book, and it's called 1% Better.
1% better.
Okay. And it's about a young man with Down syndrome.
Okay.
Right? I believe that's what he has. And his father, who he's the first person to ever complete an Ironman, which is so neat, dude. It's a really good book. And it's all about being 1% better every day, right? So when you think about life, you think in general, like you don't need to be from 0 to 100. You know, you just got to be 1% better every day.
Exactly.
You know, and that reflects on everything. Whether you're doing the gym, whether you're at work, whether you're, you know, in school, sports, anything. You don't have to be this superstar that has to be from 0 to 70, right? Like,
exactly.
If you're 1% better every single day, you know, you're gonna get better. You're gonna be stronger. You're gonna develop.
I heard of this thing. It's called the I think it's called the 18-minute rule. That if you practice something for 18 minutes every day, you're actually getting closer to whatever you're trying to achieve. So it's like somebody like, okay, case in point with me with the computer, learning how to edit. I never edit before as much as I've been doing lately with our videos, with my drone videos. But each day I practiced more and more and learned more and more. So now certain things that was kind of complicated and difficult before, they're not. Which is because I put the time and effort in every day, and that does relate a lot to what you're saying. You know, you figure out how each day. My thing is, I always say, I don't compete with anybody. I compete with last year's Corey. Because for me competing with the next person, what am I gaining out of that? You know what I mean? But if I'm competing with myself to make myself better, then again, that goes back to that 1% better. You know, it's trying to elevate myself each day. And that way, when I do go out and try to help somebody, or if I talk to somebody, I'm giving them nothing but positive, you know, feedback because of what I've done for myself, you know. So.
And that brings me to a point of self-love, right? Like, you know, there's a lot of people out there that, you know, depression, anxiety is through the roof right now. And
it's crazy.
And you need to look at like that self-love, you know what I mean? You don't need to be, if you're down and you're in a tough spot, you don't need to pick yourself up in a week. Right? Like, you just got to wake up in the morning and tell yourself you're a great person. You know what I mean?
I love myself. You know?
Do it every single day.
Thank God for, you know, another day.
And that's the biggest thing is when you're talking about like adversity or being better, you've worked to that point. So once you have that practice and that training, that mentality, because everybody's going to face adversity, right?
Of course, that's a part of life, those challenges, and you need those, you know. So
that's what makes you better.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
That self-love and that self-love and that 1% better it's important. You know what I mean? Like, as a coach, as a trainer, you know, you're never going to expect somebody to walk in the gym and be 100% better than where they were from the 2 days, right? Like, the big goal is to make sure that they're taking steps, you know, to get to that program.
Mental plays such a big part in everything that we do. Like, case in point with your injury.
Yeah.
I'm sure it could be 90% physical, but 10% mental. But that mental weighs is just as much as that 90% of the physical that you put in, because you start to look at yourself. You think about people that go through certain surgeries and things, and they have to start back over again.
Mm-hmm.
It plays in their mind like, you can't do this.
Yeah.
You're not gonna be able to do it. You'll never get back to where you were. And some people actually, Jesse, they don't. You know, they just give up.
Yeah.
And I'm not here to judge them, but you can tell what it does to them down the line. It's like that regret, you know, and it's a sad thing, but I see so many people that how they feel about themselves once they get over that mental edge.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like you said, we've all been there.
Yeah.
We've all faced the adversities, and you know, it's who and what we went through that made us who we are today.
100%. And like, you nailed it on the head by talking about that, because at the end of the day, that's why we started this, right?
Exactly.
Like, it's to bring positivity. Like, there's people that are down and out, and those people that may not think they can get over something, like, bring the positive light to them, and maybe that'll help them, you know?
Exactly.
It goes, it's whether it's training, whether it's entertainment, anything that we do, you know what I mean? If we can make a difference, you could walk into a grocery store, you don't know what people are going through, right? Like, they could have had the worst day of their lives, you know? They could have had to put a pet down, right? Like, it's something that's really tough or dear to their heart.
Yeah.
And you make them smile for that split second, that could change that whole day, you know what I mean?
Man. Yes, it can.
So that little adversity or that little push or that little positivity can really make a difference in somebody's lives. And
so when you were reading the book, what was some of the biggest things that you've learned, like, as I guess for yourself, that you can apply for yourself?
so the big thing is, I'm still early in the book, right? Like, I'm only, I think, chapter 4 or 5, but I love reading it because what it gives me is just hope for everyone, right? Like, everybody's different, no matter what. Right? Like, everybody in this life is different. I don't care if you have a disability or whatnot. Like, none of that matters, because they're still people. We're still human, right?
Exactly.
It doesn't matter race. It doesn't matter religion. Everybody has their own aspect of life, right?
Yeah.
And everybody has different. But the best thing I learned early on was he faced adversity throughout that, right? He went through something, and I'll have to remember it down the road. But I remember there was a big piece of adversity where he didn't know if he could finish. And his dad was like, just be 1% better. Like, it's just one step at a time.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you don't need to go full bore. Like, you'll get through this. You got this. You know what I mean? And it was cool to see that, because this young man just kept pushing. And he was facing a tough injury, right? Like, during it, right around the middle. And he was like, oof, you know, like, people can give up quick, right? But that's where it goes to the mental, like you said. That's where you mentally just tell yourself, I got this, I got this, I got this, right? Like, that mental aspect is massive in those times, because you can face stuff physically that, like you said, I think no matter what you do mentally, it takes over way higher of a percentage than physically.
Yeah, exactly.
Just like you said, like, that 10% is bigger than
just
that
as
90,
strong. Yeah.
you know, and you're 100% right on that, because that's the aspect that people really start to say, like, can I do this? Can I make this? You know what I mean?
Because I know you face that a lot as a trainer, because I know when I was training a few years ago, and I dealt with a lot of older clients and some that went through major surgeries where doctors basically told them this was all I could do for you. You know, you have to figure it out. And you know, they would come to me, and they were in such like a disarray, because they just gave up hope. And my thing was, I would never give up on a person that I know they're not ready to really give up on themselves. You know, I can't do something for someone that, you know, I heard this quote: no matter how much I believe in you, if you don't believe in yourself, my belief really doesn't matter. It doesn't mean shit at that moment. but I would see the people, they had no direction. And just a simple workout, and it's nothing major, just a simple workout just to show them, okay, this is what you still can do, so we'll just target these type of exercises. And after 2-3 months, they would come in and you see them on a treadmill, on the elliptical, and it's like, what are you doing? And like, oh yeah, I'm better now. And I'm like, but that made me feel good, because it wasn't about necessarily what I did for them, it was about what they did for themselves. I was just there as, a bridge. That was it. So, and with trainers, we're not just trainers, we are therapists, counselors, we're everything. Because we're dealing with these people for a certain amount of time, and like you said, you don't know the mood that they're coming in, because everybody that you've trained yesterday, when they come in today, it doesn't necessarily mean they're gonna have a great day, and not necessarily even in the gym, just in general, in their day. You have to put up with that personality. You have to adjust that personality also, so they can get focused to do what they have to do, because you both have a goal at hand, so.
And the risk, right? Like if somebody's not focused, there's risk for injuries, right? And you got to really keep an eye on that.
Of course.
So you got to try to pull them and reel them into the moment, right? Like that moment is so crucial. I was listening to a Dr. Pete Attea, I think. I could be saying his name wrong.
Okay.
But I was listening to a podcast of his the other day, and it was speaking about like training people at an older age.
Okay.
Right? And it was such a good podcast, super, super knowledgeable. If you get a chance to check him out, he was fantastic. And he's a very, very smart person. But the biggest thing is he kept talking about, like, if the main goal, right, is to, if you can get somebody hooked basically in the gym, right? And it's like you said, 18 minutes a day. You end up getting hooked after a while, because you're disciplined. Once you discipline yourself, you're gonna learn, you're gonna get better. And like he said, it's not just about you going in and training and being stronger, faster, or whatever. It's you feeling better, right? Feeling, and that goes back to the mental stuff we're talking about, right? Like when you feel better, you're gonna continue to do that thing that makes you feel better.
Exactly.
Right? No matter what it is, whether it's cooking, whether it's reading, sleeping better, doing a cold plunge, which I know like Joe Rogan's huge on those, and cold plunges, not to get off topic, are the best. They're awesome. But it's that idea of like, how do you feel? Do you feel better? So if they feel better, guess what they're gonna do? They're gonna come back. They're gonna come back.
It's that euphoric feeling.
Then like what you're doing, right? Like you're focused on those certain areas that they can get better at. They're feeling better, so what's their confidence do? It goes up. And when their confidence goes up, they're like, I can do this. I can do this.
And then they're ready to try other things. It's amazing, man. It's amazing how the mind, like that old Ghetto Boy song, the mind plays tricks on you. Because your mind can be your best friend, or you can be your worst enemy. And I'm a strong believer in, I always try to speak positive and highly when I'm talking about myself or the people that I'm around, friends, family, because the subconscious doesn't know when you're playing. And also their subconscious might not know that you're joking. So, and there's nothing wrong with joking and bombing on each other. I mean, that's a part of life. We all do that and have fun with each other. But when you really try to tear yourself down or tear someone else down, you really don't know what that's doing to the psyche, and I just really, I think we all go through that or have been through that growing up. It could be, circumstances, it could be environments that we live, but when you figure that out about yourself, then I think that's also key into you growing and learning and becoming wiser and elevating yourself. You know what I mean? So
And it helps with that development, right? And it helps with the, like you said, the psyche, the mental state.
Yeah.
When you're positive with yourself, because you could see people that, like, if they're negative towards themselves, you could try to reinforce it and be like, nah, man, like, don't talk like that.
Yeah.
And when you talk like that, you see people start to distance themselves from you. You know, if they have, like, they don't, you always hear, like, people say, don't surround yourself with negative people, right? And it's a tough thing because you don't know what they're going through.
Exactly.
You know, so, like, if I'm negative and I'm constantly talking down about myself, the people around that hear that, especially young kids, right? Like, if you're in an environment where you're saying bad things about yourself, those kids are gonna be like, why would I respect him or listen to that person?
Or
right?
be around that person, because
you don't wanna,
you don't want that to rub off. Like, energy is very, transferring energy. It's so true, because you've met people that they're just always in a bad mood.
Yep.
Always, and it gets so much to a point to where when you're around them, you get into a bad mood.
100%.
And you're like, you break off from them, and now you could still be stuck in that same mood.
Yep.
So now when you're going around people that are positive, they're looking at you like, yo, what's wrong with you? Like, and now you're taking out your frustrations out on them, and it's one thing taking out your frustrations on someone because something happened that involved maybe with all of you. It's another thing bringing your own personal frustration and taking it out on the person. I think that's, that's bullshit. So,
and it's not fair to that other person.
Exactly,
right?
exactly.
And they don't want to deal with that. And that's how relationships are broken. That's how, friendships are broken.
Yeah.
And you grow and you learn that,
Yeah.
right? But I don't know how many people that nobody taught us that when we were a kid.
We had to go through it.
Yeah.
We had to go through it.
When I work with young school or like young athletes in schools, I always tell them, especially if it's a group situation, I'm like, listen, man, it's all about positivity. It's all about supporting one another.
Yeah.
Like, you don't know what other people are going through. When I coach, that was my biggest thing. Like, you don't know what the custodian's going through, you don't know what the principal's going, you know what I mean? Everybody, you don't know what your teammates are going through because they're not going to talk about it. And I always tell my kids, like, you treat a custodian or whatever the same way you treat a CEO. Like, it doesn't matter who, where, what they're from. Like, you respect those people.
Exactly.
And I remember that was a big thing for me is, like, my kids had such respect for everyone when they played for me because they had respect for me.
Exactly.
Right? But in that sense, is I treated those kids with respect, right? Because I didn't know what they were going through, and if they were going through stuff, I wanted them to reach out to me.
And
I wanted them to feel comfortable,
right there,
right?
Exactly.
Because when, like you said, as a trainer, when you go through things in your own life, and you said it at the beginning, like when you go through stuff, you become better because you have to learn to deal with it.
Right? That's how we become better, by going through things.
Yep, that adversity that you face.
Challenges, failures. Like I always say, a man doesn't become a man until he has went through the heartbreaks, the failures, the embarrassments. You got to go through all those. It's just a part of life. So how do you know how to deal with it, or who you can become down the line if you didn't go through it, at some point in your life, so I embrace, and I tell my kids that, I'll tell the younger generation that, embrace the process, embrace the challenges, go through them. Just go through it.
If it goes back to the whole Rocky thing, you get knocked down, you get back up.
Right? I was listening to something today when Apollo said there is no tomorrow. There is no tomorrow, and it's true. You gotta do what you have to do today, and if in the moment it's a heavy weight, well then you figure out how to carry it. Even if it's doing it in increments, you do step by step, but you'll get to where you're trying to go.
Listen, God always says that He's never gonna give you something you can't handle, right? Like that's I'm a big believer in that idea. It's even when like relationships, when you get broken down and you don't know where to go and know where to turn and whatnot, you dig yourself out. Right? Like,
and because God is right there with you.
100%.
He's putting you through things that He knows. Like when you ask for courage or you ask for strength, it's not in a lifting competition. You could be in some deep shit. Somebody that could be going through something, and this is where your courage and your strength is put into play. And that is, again, that's what makes us who we are trying to become, and makes us better, in my opinion, in that sense.
No, I agree 100%. And that's the biggest thing too, is like you being better for that person who's going through something is gonna make them better.
Better, exactly.
Right? Like it goes back to the full circle of the positivity thing and negativity thing. If you walk in and you're the negative person, you're gonna bring somebody down.
I don't want to be around that person. Yeah.
And if somebody's down, they're gonna maintain being down, right?
Yeah.
Like they're gonna be like, man, my support system is down just as much as I am. So
So
what do I do?
Where do I go to?
Where do I turn? And some people don't have big support systems. You know what I mean? It's a tough thing.
Yeah.
You know, we're fortunate, but I remember the first time meeting you, like you shine with light, right? Like I knew right away. I'm like, dude, this dude's the man.
Because I felt like that about you. Like, yeah, me and this guy, we're gonna be friends. We're gonna be real cool because your energy was the same as mine, and it was even in a job where, you know, and I'm not knocking the job, but it's a job where that's just what it is.
Yep.
It's just a job. It's
Yep.
not a career for us,
Yep.
you know. But through that, we still were uplifting, not just with ourselves, but with everybody else, you know. And that's the reason why we're here still to this day doing, you know, our podcast, because the energy and the love that we have for each other and the respect that we have for each other. And we both have the similar ambition and drive and goals where we want to see not only ourselves in better positions, but everybody around us, you know. So it's true, like that book, which you were reading, you know, and I want to, you know, when you do finish it, I want to know more about it. But I think I will, you know, look into it because I like not necessarily just self-help books, but I like books to where I've read about other people's challenges and how can I apply that to myself, you know. So it does seem like, you know, it's a good book, and it seems like making yourself 1% better every day is something I think we all should strive to do, you know, no matter 100%. What, you know, because you look at so much, you know, look at the entertainment world, all the shit that Puffy is going through right now. And it just lets you know, because you start to see so many other people now, a lot of things are starting to come out about them. So it goes back to that old saying, what's done in the dark will come to light, you know. But it just seemed like that legacy that he created, you know, because you separate the man from the music wise, he's one of the greatest producers, engineers, music directors that you will ever see in our time, because he's made music that goes back over 20 years, like hits that we've all partied to and danced to. But then you look at what the negative aspect of the man, I think now it's gonna overshadow that career.
100%.
You know, people will still listen to it, and people will still, you know, remember the songs and all of that, but now this is always gonna be attached to it. You know, and that's crazy. You know what I mean? Like, that's some real heavy shit.
It is. It is. And that's the thing. These guys that, like, you see it a lot with actors, actresses, music. You see it all the time where, like you said, what happens in the dark, when it comes to light, man, like, it don't matter what you did. Like, it don't matter the money you had. If you cross those lines, like, you need to go.
Because somebody's gonna say something
sooner or later. Whether it comes out in 5 years or it comes out in 5 days,
it's gonna come out.
And that's the biggest thing. And then you could turn that around. Like, it's funny you say, like, what you do in the dark will come to light, and then we use that for, like, athletes. You know, I always try to bring back the training.
Nah, it's all good.
But it's funny because, like, in life there's so many of those things that, like this situation, which you nailed it on the head the way you said it, like what happens in the dark will come to light. It's such a negative thing, but for you young kids listening, like that's a positive thing too. We can look at it's the work you do
Okay.
in the dark.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's the work you do when the lights are off. You know, I worked with a guy who said that I thought it was really cool. Like, what you do when the lights are out will show when the lights come on, right? Like whether you're playing basketball, any sport of any sort, you know what I mean? If you're willing to do that hard work behind the scenes, it will make you better. So it's funny that like there's so many ways of looking at things in the negative and positive, you know, but that's one thing I wanted to say to that because I think that's a really good comment. And it can happen in both forms. Obviously, we see that, right? Like what he did behind scenes has
Caught up with him.
you know what I mean? And those are terrible things that you're hearing, right? Like, but it's a positive thing if you're looking at it in different forms. So there's always a positive in certain situations, right? This situation, obviously not with that situation.
Exactly.
You can, as people like us sitting here, we can take it and look at the young kids that we hope are going to listen.
And like you said, turn it around. You know, those extra push-ups that you're doing at night, those extra sit-ups that you're doing when you're not around your team, those are the things that you're doing in the dark that will benefit you later on. Yeah. So I like the way you put that spin on it. So.
Yeah, and it's tough. Like we've talked about negative, and we're not gonna go away from that at times. There's gonna be some stuff we're gonna hit in our podcast.
It's coming. They're coming.
You know what I mean? Like there's gonna be stuff we'll talk about that are like you know, like that's dark, but people need to hear that too. You know what I mean? Because hopefully it clicks with somebody like, don't do that. Like wake up. You know what I mean? We see it with athletes and. We see it a lot of times, especially even with politics. If we want to go deep, I mean, I don't even want to think about this stuff they're doing in the dark. You know what I mean? But I mean, you saw it with that one guy that had that island and shit. Like, what are you doing, man? Like, seriously? And that guy was like made of money or whatever. It's like this stuff comes out. It's like just because you have money doesn't mean you can be a piece of shit.
Exactly.
Like at the end of the day, but
okay. But yeah, man, this is I think this has been very informational and educational, man.
100%.
So it's definitely been good, and we definitely will be back again.
Yeah, and we're bouncing off each other, man. It's all about positivity. We're gonna talk about stuff you guys may not think it's like that's dark, but you know we gotta hit every light. But the biggest thing, man, out of this podcast, we're hoping you guys take and understand that. Everybody faces something in life. No matter what it is, you're gonna face adversity, but just keep pushing, man.
Go through it.
Be 1% better, and just be better for yourself. Self-love's important, and trust yourselves, and be there for other people, and be kind, care about people, and go through it, man.
That's it. You said it best, brother.
I don't know about that.
Another one.
Love you, man.
Love you too. C&J Juse from the Cuse.